There's always someone standing between you and the unknown that you can go ask, what should I do? Well, at some point you'll realize that the reason you can't ask that anymore is because they actually don't know any more than you do. And then that's a pain, like that is a symbolic death. And that's also when you establish a more individual relationship with your parents. It's at that point that you could conceivably start taking care of them instead of the reverse. And that's a time that should come. But you have to let that image of perfection go, and that exposes you.
I enjoyed that. Welcome to another episode of this. You know how I go. But we're going to go ahead and get the motivation started for today. Today we are, discovering our personality. We're going to look at some different personality stuff to help us stay mindful about who we are on this Monday. So, motivation. Let's get this motivation, y'all. I ain't even updated on Twitch. Hold on. Let's get some motivation for our brothers out there.
Responsible for other people. And part of that is taking accountability.
You are a man. Stand up and be a man. Make the hard decisions, make the sacrifices, make the unpopular decisions, and become comfortable in your own skin.
Yes, sir.
And if you are not a person that you are comfortable being alone with, that is the one person in this universe that you have full power, full right, and full responsibility to change.
Like, when do you become a man? You become a man when you become responsible for other people. And part of that is taking accountability. Yep. I grew up in a culture that told me going to war made you a man. Going to prison and coming back makes you a man. Making $1 million makes you a man, you know, and it doesn't.
Who teaches you to be a man? We all have these ladders of battles, roads we have to walk in our given lives. Be you famous or whoever's out there listening, we all have our individual challenges. It's cliche, money don't make it better. It don't. Fame just magnifies the problems and the opportunities. I never looked at things as problems. I look at them as opportunities. Maybe that's something I can say. You know, someone, but she did this, and well, what an opportunity you have. Yeah, well, the world, you know, because they said this and CNN said that. Yeah, well, what an opportunity you have to make a difference. Because you never know who's watching.
Winners fail 1,000,000 times. What makes them a winner is that they believe in it, they're headstrong. Nothing's gonna stop them. The spectators have tried it and failed it and remain sitting down. They don't get up anymore because they don't believe in it enough. The naysayers' disbelief overrides their ability, potential, and mental capacity that they can be more than that.
Why is that? Why do people assume that tomorrow is waiting for them? Why do people think that that son owes them something? Why do people think that the idea of having more time is the best time to have? You don't have a lot of time, ladies and gentlemen. All you got is what you have. And what you have is what you need. And what you need is to get up and be about your business. Because life is just that. It's business. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna lay around and wait for your opportunities to pass you by?
Arm yourself with words. Be precise in your language. Right? Say what you mean. Read. Read great men and great women. Make yourself literate. Get your tongue in order. Get it under your own control. Get rid of the ums and the likes and the you knows and the pauses. And get rid of everything you say that you only say to impress other people. And just see if you can say what you believe to be true.
There's sometimes you could be in a meeting and you could be the smartest guy in the room and you don't want to let anybody know that. Let everybody talk, let everybody think they're smarter than you, but you really know what's going on.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Expansion Pack. I'm your host, Dan F. Man. Good to be in here on another Healthy Mental Thursday. We're going to go ahead and get this motivation started for the day. We'll take it from there. This is DGTA TV. Chill. Hope y'all feeling good. Feeling good, looking good, trying to be good. Oh yeah, we do Motivation for Love on Thursday. Motivation for Love. Hold on, listen. Okay, we'll watch 11 minutes.
Let me guess.
Psych. 4. Hold on. Okay. 8 minutes.
And to all of you watching here, come close to the screen and
I'm
listen.
listening, baby.
People don't have to like you. People don't have to love you. They don't even have to respect you. But when you look in the mirror, you better love what you see.
Yes, ma'am.
You better love what you see.
Be uncomfortable. Get yourself in a situation where you feel a little bit about a challenge. You're feeling something about being challenged. You're understanding that challenges are good for you. Challenges are going to make you better, going to make you stronger, going to push you through any adversity that you may face in life.
But nobody's coming to save you. There's no knight in shining armor, and the people that say they will, they don't really stick around for long. The reality is this whole life thing was never really meant to be about anyone else. You're kind of supposed to be the hero of this story. Even if you feel weak right now, even if you feel alone, you feel down, you feel like you can't do it, you can. And you will. All you have to do is show up. So, show up today.
You have the power to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. Don't underestimate yourself. You don't know enough about yourself to become a cynic. And so you've got to challenge yourself to access that power that you have within you. You're more than a conqueror.
I'm amazing when you don't think I'm amazing.
Yes, sir.
I love me even if you stop loving me.
Yes, sir.
You can say the nastiest, meanest, evilest shit that you could ever conjure up. It will never change the way I feel about
Right,
myself.
It
Yes,
takes
sir.
faith to jump off of the edge. It takes faith to step into your purpose. It takes faith to step into your destiny. It takes faith.
Hate.
Yes, sir.
You matter, alright? There's always gonna be somebody that cares about
Yes,
you.
sir.
And you're a good person. No matter what people say, you matter.
I love me. So the day that you decide to stop loving me, I'm not gonna love myself any less. I believe in me. If you stop believing in me,
You're a good person. And you matter, alright? There's always gonna be somebody that cares about you. And you're a good person. No matter what people say, you matter.
I love me. So the day that you decide to stop loving me, I'm not gonna love myself any less. I believe in me. If you stop believing in me, I'm not gonna believe in myself any less.
You know, as crazy as it sounds, one decision can completely change your life. So what are you waiting for?
I wouldn't change what happened to me. And that's the God's honest truth. If any one of you had a superhero ability where you could send me back in time and give me a do-over, I wouldn't accept it. I would gladly relive everything I have been through provided I had this outcome. Because who I am now and what I offer the world, I wouldn't want to give that up to avoid going through those dark days or the pain I went through. I think it was all worth it to turn me into who I am now.
I think we look down now to 16-year-olds and say, where are you going to go to college? What are you going to do for the rest of your life? And it's like, they're not fully baked yet. How do they know? Give them a break. Just say, look, I think after high school, take a year off, take 2 years off, join the Peace Corps, travel, go figure things out, or just enjoy yourself. For the first time in their lives, they're adults, and they don't have to be somewhere. They're not told to be somewhere.
Like I tell people all the time, we all got to go through something to get something that we want in life. Things may not always go the way you want it to go, but I promise you, if you continue to focus on the positive rather than the negatives, you will be all right. It's tough sometimes. It gets tough every day, but we got to make it. No matter what it is, no matter what you're going through, just think about it for a second. Somebody did not wake up this morning, but you did. I always say this to people often. You are above ground. Why are you above ground? Because there's purpose within you. There's purpose for you. There's opportunity for you.
You feel like you're missing out on all the fun. Me too. Everyone else has more friends. Everyone else does the fun stuff on the weekends. Everyone else gets all the attention. We're missing out on a lot, and it doesn't end there. We're missing out on the endless search for acceptance from an empty source. Missing out on the constant need to mask the reality of who we are. Missing out on the acting like everything is okay and shutting down when the crowd is gone. So yeah, we're missing out, but I think that's just fine for now.
Yes, sir.
When it came time to take things to the next level, I knew that I had to make a website, and Wix.
My life is like I'm running from a pack of starving wolves. If I slow down at all, I will be eaten alive. Like I have one choice, and it's to keep going as fast as I can, or I'll be torn to pieces. And that's what it felt like, and I love that. Like that sounds so like negative and dark, but like I love that. It was such like a motivation.
No, you see, it's impossible. And plus your name who can pronounce Schwarzen Schnitzel or something like that. No one can pronounce that, so forget about it, Arnold. This is the kind of thing that I heard. Imagine, you go from studio executive to studio executive, from agent to agent, from manager to manager, and they all said exactly the same thing. Now that's very encouraging, isn't it? But you know something? I didn't give a shit.
Yes!
I didn't. Now that's very encouraging, isn't it? But you know something?
Yes.
I didn't give a shit. I didn't. Because I believed,
yes, sir,
that I can be a leading man. I believed that I could be another Clint Eastwood or another Burt Reynolds. I believed that I could be those people. I said there's enough room on that ladder
My man.
that I can fit up there. And I looked back again and learned from what I learned in sports.
Yes, sir.
It's all about the hard work that you put in.
You get to redesign. You are your Michelangelo. You are your greatest sculpture. And you get to recarve and you get to up-level as much as you need. You're not sentenced to this life this way. You chose it.
I love myself. I like myself. You the bomb yourself. Yes, you are. All right, now let's go ahead and get to this topic for today. I hope y'all motivated. I hope you love yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Keep yourselves good and in good health. All right, so today we defining healthy. Let's define healthy. What is healthy? Definition of healthy. Let's see.
What is the definition of health? My name is Dr. Jeff Langmaid. Over the next few minutes, I want to break down to you exactly how the World Health Organization defines health, how you can think about it, and proactive steps that you can take to make sure that you are having your highest quality of life. So what is the definition of health? Is it just not being sick, or is it living a high quality of life? Well, the World Health Organization defines health as a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease. And that's a very important point that we're gonna break down over the next few minutes, because they are highlighting what many people now call a biopsychosocial model of pain. Physical, biomechanics, how are you moving? Movement is such an important part of life that is built into the definition of health. As we look at the second part, mental clarity. Are you stressed out? Are you living easy? Your mental state determines your reality each and every day and plays into your overall health and well-being. If you're not feeling good upstairs, it's difficult to get your body moving downstairs. And that's why mental health is brought into that. The final piece of it is social health. And that's important. That's something over the last couple hundred years, I think has come to much more prominence, and over the last 50 years more so than ever before, that our social circles and our ability to feel connected and loved by other people is an unbelievably deep foundational layer of our quality of life and our overall health. Now, the final piece of this definition is also important to keep in mind. They say it is not merely the absence of disease. My background in training is as a chiropractor, and for over 125 years, chiropractors have been promoting proactive health, and the World Health Organization agrees. It is not just about not being sick, it is about making sure that your physical, your mental, and your social well-being is as high as possible. Now, as we go through life, there will be stressors, there will be setbacks, and having full health is always a picture of perfection. What you can do is each day take stock every morning, just identify how are you feeling physically, how are you feeling mentally, how connected are you socially, and then maybe think of 1 to 2 proactive steps that you can take during the day if you're not feeling 10 out of 10 in one of those domains. If you have any questions about your health, please visit a chiropractor near you. But that is the World Healthcare Organization's definition of health. It is about social, physical, and mental well-being, not only the absence of disease. My name is Dr. Jeff Langman. If you want to check out
Dr. Jeff, we saved you on the playlist. All right. Let's look at one more.
I'm done spending an obscene amount of money on takeout every day.
I'm getting back on track with Factor Fresh.
Welcome, I'm Dr. Melina Roberts, and I want to talk about the definition of health, because I think the way that most people in our society are defining health is by the absence of disease. The other way that people are defining health is by how someone physically looks. Now, the way that I define health is about adaptability. So how well does your body adapt to stressors, either internal or external stressors, when they come into our bodies? And how well can your system adapt to those stressors? So adaptability is, to me, the definition of health. If our bodies can effectively adapt to these stressors, then our body is healthy. Therefore, that means that if you have a stressor that comes into your system and your body can't manage it or handle it, that would mean that your system is not in a healthy spot. So this, to me, is a great distinction from just saying the absence of disease. Health is about adaptability, and the better our bodies can adapt to stressors, the healthier our systems are. So how adaptable is your system? Now, one of the ways that we measure adaptability in our practice is using something called heart rate variability. And heart rate variability is assessing the autonomic nervous system. That's the part of the nervous system that runs in the background. We don't consciously control it. There's 2 parts to that nervous system. There's your stress state, and then there's your rest, digest, and repair. So we get to see how stressed is the body, how well can your body adapt to these stressors, and how are these 2 systems related to each other. So this gives us a lot more insight into your system and how well your body is able to adapt. So the better our bodies are able to adapt, the healthier we are. I think we as a society need to redefine what we call healthy, because when we are saying that healthy people are dying from an infection, that means that that person was actually not healthy
At all.
because their system did not adapt appropriately to that infectious agent. So, yes, I think that we as a society need to redefine the word healthy. All right.
All right. So, what does bad health look like? No, not mental. Just bad health. Let's see what's up.
I think I just won my taxes.
Oh yeah?
I just switched from TurboTax to H&R Block. It was so easy.
You mean I don't have to go back through all this to switch?
Nope.
It's easy to switch.
Well, it's pretty common knowledge that certain foods are healthy and others aren't so much. It's pretty rare that you ever get an explanation as to why. And one thing that bothers me quite a bit is when someone says to eat something because it's good for you or it's a superfood. And almost universally what that really translates to is it grows in nature. Ironically, half the time it only grows in nature because we've selectively bred it over thousands of years to be that way. And when half of our leading sources of nutrition advice are Pinterest recipes, a lot of what we consider common knowledge is actually completely made up. As an example, one of them really doesn't make any sense. If your body is filled with toxins and certain foods remove them, then that means we could have brought back Steve Irwin with a blueberry smoothie. In reality, almost all supplements or foods that get rid of toxins are really just laxatives or diuretics, so it makes you feel like they're somehow flushing something away, when in reality you could have just put 3 recipes for anything made overnight in a mason jar, telling your skin and seeing if it's starting to rust. And while they do play a role in your body, the problem with suggesting that you should consume more is that it's fundamentally like saying the more oil you have in your car. If you do have too much oil in your car, you can add the excess to your overnight oats because motor oil is also high in antioxidants. Another common idea that's recently started to shift is that you should never skip breakfast, which there is absolutely no scientific basis for except that breakfast food is my favorite. I think the funny thing is that when I used to tell people I skipped breakfast, they thought I was crazy, but now I can say I'm doing intermittent fasting, and they're like, oh, very disciplined, when in reality I just woke up at noon. Relatedly, the next thing that's often incredibly misunderstood is diet, especially with things like paleo, keto, intermittent fasting, and varying degrees of vegetarianism becoming so popular. We've all heard limitless jokes about how do you know if someone is a vegan? Because they'll tell you, ha ha ha, classic comedy. But that's not even the case anymore. I see way more people on low-carb ketogenic diets post things on the internet like, look at this fool I saw today, eating an apple like an absolute normie, as they show off their Costco haul of pork rinds and butter. The most important thing to know is that generally speaking, weight is regulated by calorie intake. So you have
calories consumed minus calories burned equal remaining energy balance converted to or from body mass. Okay, hold on, wait. I need to increase my calorie intake because I'm burning the hell out of the calories. Maybe. I don't know.
a certain amount of calories you burn in a day, and if you repeatedly intake more than that, you'll gain weight, and if you intake less than that, you'll lose weight. As a quick disclaimer, the exact amount of calories absorbed from food isn't always 100%, which is why some people claim calories in, calories out isn't true, but being more exact, calories metabolized and absorbed minus calories burned always is true. Now, for the average person, the amount of calories burned is around 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day. Then the generally accepted rule is that there is 3,500 calories in a pound of body fat.
Okay.
So say you wanted to get thick because it's 2019, you would have to eat roughly 500 calories above your daily maintenance for 71 days to gain 10 pounds.
Okay.
Then if we look at the composition of food itself, all food is made up of 3 primary macronutrients that serve a different bodily function, and each has a different caloric value. We have fat, which has 9 calories per gram, protein, which has 4 calories per gram, and carbohydrates, which have 4 calories per gram as well. And then there's a fourth bonus macronutrient, alcohol, which has 7 calories per gram. As for their physiological roles, loosely speaking, fat regulates hormones and stops your cells from imploding. Protein is for bodily function and muscular regeneration. Carbohydrates are primarily for aerobic and anaerobic activity. And then alcohol, which sadly just poisons you. The good news is that because too much alcohol is toxic, if your friend is passed out in the club bathroom, you can flush out the alcohol by popping a blueberry under their tongue, just like a sensu bean. Much alcohol is then alcohol, which sadly just poisons you. The good news is that because too much alcohol is toxic, if your friend is passed out in the club bathroom, you can flush out the alcohol by popping a blueberry under their tongue, just like a sensu bean. Below that, we have fiber and micronutrients, which are all your vitamins and minerals. Just make sure you get enough of these or your teeth will fall out. Now, with these fundamentals in mind, if we start to take a look at all the popular and successful diets out there nowadays, the fact of the matter is that almost all of them have good points, but they also all have bad points. Meaning that you're not an enlightened member of the nutritional Illuminati just because you stopped eating bread. And if we take a look at all the most common diets that cover the full spectrum of plant-based to animal-based, we can see they all have pros and cons. Veganism is sustainable and very nice to the animals, but it's a bit harder to get the right macronutrients, and you constantly have to wonder if your friends don't want you for dinner because of your dietary restrictions or just your personality. Vegetarianism is sustainable and nice to the animals, but limited food choices. Paleo diets are good for weight loss, but again, limited food choice. Ketogenic diets, very good for weight loss because it massively regulates blood sugar, which affects cravings and appetite, but it's extremely limiting in terms of food choice. Not very good for anyone doing anaerobic sports because there are no available carbohydrates, but it's actually not bad if you run ultra marathons. So next time you go for a 100-mile run, make sure to bring your pepperoni holster. Carnivorous diets, these ones are a bit weird and they're very unsustainable, but very good for weight loss and autoimmune disorders / arthritis / certain types of depression. And while there have been some pretty miraculous anecdotes, the downside is that it has not been well studied long term, and everyone at the restaurant will think you're a serial killer as you peel the breading off your KFC family bucket.
Right.
For some reason, the community is also really involved with cryptocurrency, so if anyone was actually the nutritional Illuminati, this would be it. And then finally, the classic if it fits your macros, which means eating whatever you want as long as it fits within a designated calorie limit and matches the amount of protein, fat, and carbohydrates you've allotted.
Right.
This is common for athletes and people who want to be bodybuilders, but in the 7 years they've been going to the gym, they've only made 2 years worth of progress.
Right.
Speaking of the gym, there are also a few misconceptions when it comes to exercise, and one of the most common jokes you hear in weightlifting communities is making fun of people who say, "I'm just looking to tone." Because the only two variables to your physical appearance is the volume of muscle you have and the volume of fat you have. It's also incredibly difficult to gain muscle, so you'll often hear girls and even guys say, "You know, I'm worried that if I start lifting weights, I'll get too big." And unfortunately, the thing is, no matter how much you believe you're an anime protagonist, it just isn't going to happen. Ultimately, there are two main ways of improving your physical health through exercise, which are strength training and cardiovascular training. In other words, how strong is your bod and how strong is your heart and lungs. And while even 30 minutes to an hour of walking a day is enough to make sure everything keeps working, further training at the gym is not only a good idea, it's a lifestyle where you can lift a heavy thing now so you can be in pain for a while and then lift a slightly heavier thing later, or ski on the elliptical until exhaustion so that once your heart eventually recovers, you'll have more love to give.
Yo, now that was good. I don't know if y'all enjoyed that, but I did. All right, so now let's put the mental in there.
I switched from due dates to due date.
Well, psych to go we can do.
Therapy has always been such a scary idea to me because I simply did not know where to get started. I didn't know how to find my person. I did not know where to go.
You've been irritable or unhappy almost every day for a good while, and it's really impacting your life and relationships. Mental illness can be harder to identify than physical illness, since you don't just feel a pain to signal something being wrong. If not caught early on, it's possible for you to continue to sink deeper into this negative mental health space. This is why learning signs that you may be struggling with your mental health is so important. In fact, a 2007 study found that mental health literacy was one of the 4 ways to lead to more positive mental health outcomes. Enough said. Here are 5 signs you're battling mental illness. Number 1, emotion and personality inconsistencies. Have you noticed yourself doing some odd things? Maybe a friend has pointed out some things you've said or done that aren't totally on brand. This could take the form of changes in mood. Perhaps you know yourself to be calm and even-tempered, but lately you've been feeling irritable or anxious most of the time. Maybe you experience extreme highs or bouts of joy, but also extreme lows or episodes of deep sadness or anger. It can also look like laughing at inappropriate moments or feeling extremely angry at small inconveniences. According to the Mayo Clinic, emotions that feel excessive or disproportionate to the matter at hand can also be a sign. This can include excessive anxiety, fear, anger, guilt, sadness, or happiness when not completely appropriate. These feelings can take an emotional toll on you, as it's exhausting to feel so much, so deeply, and so frequently. If you've been experiencing persistent or excessive heightened emotions, or have even said, done, or felt things that you wouldn't normally, then you may be battling a mental illness. Number 2, engaging in unsafe behavior. In 2019, a group of UK researchers found that symptoms of depression can be accompanied with additional symptoms. Right, like regular symptoms aren't bad enough. Have you been taking less and less care of yourself? Perhaps you've been neglecting to bathe, brush your teeth, or eat properly. You may find yourself caring less about your appearance and skipping the grooming session. Mental illness can cause you to have also developed physically unhealthy habits, such as eating or sleeping significantly more or less than usual. Sure, eating a large meal or even skipping a meal is fine once in a while. Of course, sleeping in and having a lazy day once in a blue moon is also fine, but you may be doing so in a way that has become bad for your nutrition and overall health. This also may extend to engaging in dangerous or risky behaviors, such as substance abuse or self-harm. This may not merely be a sign of laziness or being adventurous, but instead a sign that you're struggling with your mental health. Number 3, social withdrawal. Another sign to take note of is withdrawal. Have you lost interest in activities that you used to enjoy? Have you dropped your school, extracurricular, or work obligations? Perhaps you found that you can't quite bring yourself to keep up with them. It's also possible that you've withdrawn from social engagements. Have you been declining invites or canceling arrangements to spend time with friends or family? Perhaps you've been acting more closed off and spending too much time alone. This isn't you being rude or introverted. If you have significantly withdrawn from these activities and interactions in your life, you may be struggling with a mental illness. Number 4, illogical thoughts. Have you been having difficulties with focusing, remembering things, or making decisions? Has it become harder to tie your thoughts together and express them? Mental illness can also affect your ability to concentrate and use logic to think through things. You might notice these changes while you go about your day, as it's possible for these to affect your performance in school, work, or even simple household tasks. It can be difficult to pinpoint the cause of these changes in thinking, or to even notice them at all, because mental illness can make the mind feel foggy and unclear. The American Psychiatry Association gives us examples of these illogical thoughts, such as having an overwhelming suspicion or fear of someone or something when no threat is posed, having an illogical or exaggerated belief that you have powers, that you can influence events, or showing signs of magical thinking. An example of this is having an overwhelming suspicion or fear of someone or something when no threat is posed, having an illogical or exaggerated belief that you have powers, that you can influence events, or showing signs of magical thinking. An example of this could be a child who believes that if he wears purple socks, his parents won't fight. Do any of these signs remind you of anyone you know? This could be a sign they're battling mental illness and need to seek the proper support. And number 5, romanticizing negative emotion. Sadness is a part of life, and everyone feels it from time to time. However, battling a deep sadness that feels endless and seeps into every crack of your life is a completely different story. This is a sadness that you may not even know the exact cause of and can seem nearly impossible to escape. Such sadness can lead to feeling hopeless and can make you feel like giving up. This can take the form of numbly letting the days pass by, no longer caring for yourself, and not even doing the most basic of tasks. This can also take the form of more active thoughts of taking your own life. If you're experiencing such feelings, this is a warning sign that you're battling serious mental health issues, and you need to seek professional help immediately. What you're feeling
What is the
doesn't
professional?
have
Let's
to be
see what
permanent.
some professional.
According to the DSM-5,
after
symptoms of mental illness must cause clinically significant distress or impairment in your social life, work, or school, or other important aspects of life. These signs can vary in severity and frequency, depending on the individual. To most, feeling that overwhelming sadness may sound agonizing. But believe it or not, there are some who love being sad, or even find comfort in this sadness. Based on a 2020 study done on early signals of mental illness, participants who held a special significance to words related to sadness and perception typically were diagnosed with some sort of mental illness. Remember, one sign or another here and there is normal. Having a reasonable level of negative emotion in a negative situation is normal. When it begins to negatively affect life and relationships, it becomes a warning signal, just like your stomach hurting. For these reasons, it's important to reach out to a professional for a complete diagnosis. If you or anyone you know could be struggling with their mental health, please don't hesitate to reach out to a qualified mental health care provider. If you're feeling depressed or contemplating suicide, please remember that you are not alone and things can change. We've included suicide hotlines in the video description below.
Let's see what's going on with what type of professional help can you get if you're not healthy? Professional help options for unhealthy. Living. Let's just put living.
Many people, after they've been in a couple for some time, will privately admit that they are, in many ways, frustrated and disappointed by the person they've chosen to share their lives with. If pressed for details, they will have no difficulty coming up with a list. Their partner, they might complain, is too loyal to their irritating family, or doesn't share their views on the layout of the living room, or
It's important to remember our physical health affects our mental health and vice versa. What we do to our bodies makes a big difference to how we feel. Physical activity, diet, alcohol, smoking and drugs can all affect our mental health and well-being in different ways. So let's talk about them. Physical activity releases feel-good hormones called endorphins, which help us sleep and feel better. It also improves our physical fitness, which tends to make people feel better in general. Even small amounts of regular physical activity can improve your mental well-being, especially if it's doing something you enjoy. Physical activity is even a recommended treatment for some types of depression. You can get active at your own pace in your own way. There's no need to join a gym or even spend any money. Simple small changes in our day-to-day can make all the difference. Taking a brisk walk at lunchtime, or walking to get where we're going, getting active in the garden, or cycling once or twice a week are great options. If there's a type of activity you used to enjoy, think about how you could pick it up again. For example, there are lots of local groups and sports teams open to all levels of ability. What's more, studies show that time in green spaces is beneficial. So head to your local park if you can. If you need a little help fitting more physical activity into your day, try the Active 10 app. It helps you get short bursts of brisk walking into your day. There's also the fantastic Couch to 5K app, which will get you up and running in just 9 weeks. Eating better can play a big role in our health and well-being. It won't come as a surprise to learn that what we eat and how much plays a big part in our physical health, which can impact our mental health too. Ideally, we should aim to eat a healthy, balanced diet with plenty of fruit and veg. It's important to keep an eye on your calories and minimize foods that are high in sugar, fat, and salt. For helpful tips on eating a better diet, check out the 1U website. Alcohol, caffeine, tobacco, and even drugs may seem tempting when we're stressed or tired. And when we use them to try and cope, the idea of stopping them can feel like it would make things even harder. But they can cause more problems than they solve, especially long term. All these habits can complicate our sleep patterns and affect how anxious and depressed we feel. So try cutting down or even quitting. And remember that there's support available. Alcohol in particular can worsen our moods. So cutting down can really help us feel better. For more help cutting down, you can download the Drink-Free Days app. And for help cutting back on drugs, visit the Talk to Frank website. As for cigarettes, stopping smoking is one of the best things you can do for your body and your brain. You'll breathe easier, feel better, and save money. Check out nhs.uk/smoke-free for advice and support on quitting. Whatever you choose to do, what's good for your body is good for your mind.
Yes, it actually is possible to eat.
Oh Lord. Check. Oh Lord, I'm dropping everything. Okay, so let's see this. See if a therapist
Therapy's a
really
weird
happens.
thing, you know. You meet a stranger and then you're supposed to tell them all of the things you possibly never told anyone about before. It can be nerve-wracking, stressful, and we often don't know how to tell if they're even good at their jobs. Since most of what you tell a therapist is held in strict confidence, meaning, this is important, that they legally cannot tell anyone or they could lose their license, it's safe to say that you can be honest with them. You can speak your mind. But there are some things that you shouldn't tell them. Here are 4 things you should never tell your therapist. Number 1, lies. Not telling us the truth about your situation or what you're going through is only going to hold you back and make therapy either ineffective
I didn't
or
expect
slower
that one.
than it needs to be. I have had so many patients lie to me over the years, and I know that we can sometimes do it because we're scared to tell them the truth, or we're worried that they're going to judge us or be upset with us or maybe even abandon us. So if you find yourself wanting to lie because of any of these reasons or more, let your therapist know about it. That doesn't mean we have to tell them the truth or share something we aren't ready to share, but we can acknowledge the thoughts and defense mechanisms that are popping up. Because the truth is that there's a reason for this urge or impulse to lie, and it's actually helpful to figure out where it comes from and how to diffuse it. Number 2, pretending to be doing better than we are. I have had so many patients tell me that they are doing great, only to find out weeks or sometimes even months later
that she ain't.
that they really aren't. And this has happened a lot with my eating disorder patients telling me that they're following their meal plan and not overdoing on the exercise, Katie, don't worry, or managing any of our urges to binge or purge, which leads me to telling them that they need to see their regular doctor before we see each other again. I often won't even make another appointment with them until they do so they can figure out why they're still gaining or losing this weight. And this wastes their time and money. And I've also had this happen with patients who are really worried about upsetting me or are stuck in their own fawn or people-pleasing response. Remember, therapy isn't a place for judgment or blame. We're there to listen, meet you where you're at, and help you move toward your goals. It's okay to slip up. We expect it. We're human. We understand. But pretending it didn't happen only hurts your progress and doesn't allow us to offer you the support that you need. Oh, and if you're new here, I'm Katie Morton, a licensed marriage and family therapist. I talk about depression, anxiety, debunk myths about therapy, and really anything mental health related. So if you'd like to subscribe, we would love to have you. I promise you will always leave with some helpful information for you or for someone you love. Moving on to number 3, on the flip side of number 2.
Commercial.
So last night he used Hims. Honestly, nothing better.
pretending
Honestly,
to be worse
nothing
than
better.
we are to continue getting help. This happens with my BPD patients a lot, and it almost always backfires with me thinking that the help I'm able to offer isn't enough and they need a higher level of care. So I try and refer them out, which is exactly what they didn't want to have happen. Remember, a therapist can't read your mind. If we think that you're just continuing to get worse or that the resources and tools we're offering aren't helping, we're going to look into other ways for you to get better. This could mean that we think you need a day program or maybe hospitalization or possibly just a different therapist altogether. And if this has been going on for a while, it's going to be hard for you to convince us that you're actually doing much better. We can be confused by this and think that now you're just pretending that you're better to stay with us. And the fourth thing we shouldn't tell our therapist is that this is working great when it's not. If something isn't going to work for you or the advice that we offered isn't relatable, please tell us. It's our job to try and offer something we think could help. And it's your job as the patient to give it a try and let us know if it's helpful or not. Or if you know that you aren't going to be able to do something. Like if what I'm asking you to do or the homework I'm giving you is just too much, because you know yourself, right? And that's not something that you would enjoy, for example, or something you even feel able to do, please let me know. It doesn't help anybody for you to pretend that you're going to do the homework or try out a new communication tool when you already know that you're not. And a good therapist isn't going to have an ego about it either. We want to offer you things, a bunch of different things that will really work for you. So just speak up and be honest about it. But I do want to also address the fact that if we find ourselves always shooting down any and everything our therapist is offering, we may want to consider if we're actually ready for therapy or if we're being overly defensive, because there is a balance to this as well. But it's normal to not like or want to try all of the things our therapist offers, and we expect that from you. With that, let's end with the things you may be nervous to share, but definitely should.
Let me see what you got, girl.
And number one, any thoughts of suicide. I know, everyone is so scared of being hospitalized, and I completely understand, but that's why it's important to know what your therapist's protocol is for something like this. You can ask right away, like in your first session. You can ask them, just curious, when do you have to break confidentiality? And if I have thoughts of suicide, what do you do? It's okay to ask these things. In fact, it's very important that you know so that if you're struggling, you know what their next steps are going to be and you feel safe sharing what's really going on with you.
Yeah.
And just to give you an idea of the process.
I'm glad for the definition of being healthier. I learn something every time I watch. Yes. Hey, glad to have you with us. That's what we in here doing. Expanding.
Most therapists follow, including me. I first assess your risk. Then put together a safety plan with you. Next, I have you sign a safety contract for the time in between our sessions, saying that you won't harm yourself until I see you again. Now, if that's not enough and you're still at risk, I will ask who I can reach out to in order to do a safety check for me. If I can't get a hold of you, right? If I try to text you and you don't reply, who else can I get a hold of? And then I'll do that. And if that's still not helping, then I will talk to you about taking yourself to the hospital, which is the last resort. We know no one wants to be there, and most hospitals aren't very therapeutic, unfortunately. But it can keep us from acting impulsively and harming ourselves. The second thing we might be nervous about, but we definitely should share, any abuse that we've been through. Just like the thoughts of suicide, we should ask our therapist about the reasons that they would break our confidentiality. And one of those is going to be if our patient is under 18 and being abused, or if their past abuser is still in a home with minors who could be being abused. Essentially, we are mandated to report any acts of abuse on minors, dependent adults, or elders. And I know it can be scary to finally share our experiences with abuse, but know that you are never in trouble for doing it. The asshole who harmed you is. And if a report has to be made, they are the ones who are punished. I know it can be scary or stressful, but it's not on you to keep that secret. It's secrets like that that grow and invade parts of our lives. It's like a virus, right? That's what leads to other mental illnesses and difficulty in future relationships. So if you're seeing a therapist you connect with, please speak up and know that you don't have to keep that secret anymore. I know therapy can be hard. Trust me, I've been in it myself, and it's some of the hardest work I've ever done. But showing up, opening up, and doing the work is totally worth it. You are worth it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful week.
Let's go back. Let's see what else we got. For unhealthy, let's see. Let's get one more quick one in here.
Ready to stop UTIs before they even start? Meet the first anti-UTI spray for women, Intimate Skin Support.
Professional help. And the truth of it is that today I want to talk with you about when it's important to reach out for professional help. I got a question in a Monday video a few weeks ago that I thought was really important and something that I have
Oh, you're buffering, girl. You're buffering.
addressed in a video directly. And that is, when do we know that our mental health has reached a crisis level? And when do we need to reach out for professional help? And the truth of it is that it can be really difficult for you to discern. Oftentimes we'll go through periods where we don't quite feel like ourselves, or we can feel down, or we can have moments of anxiety. But when is it important that we get professional help? The first question that I want you to answer for yourself is, does this bother you most days? That's something that I know I take into consideration for myself, whether I should be going back to therapy. Like, oh, am I ruminating about this most days? Is this bothering me most days? Am I feeling depressed most days? Am I struggling with eating most days? Am I feeling really anxious most days? You can put in whatever symptoms you're feeling and think if it's bothering you most of the days. The second question that I want you to answer for yourself, is it impairing your ability to function? This could be at work, this could be at school, this could be your ability to concentrate and remember things, to engage with friends and family. Is it impairing you in any way? Or do you find yourself struggling to get up or get showered or get ready for work or school? Or any of those things being impaired? Because that's sign number 2 that you should probably reach out for help. The third question, and this one rings true for me, oh my God, so much, and that is, do you find yourself being overly emotional in situations that don't call for it?
Right.
This could be anything. I'll speak from
Not
personal
necessarily.
experience
That ain't one
I
of
will
mine.
cry at sad commercials. We're not even talking full movies. I'm talking commercials. It happens like poof. Or if someone asks me how I'm doing and they're actually a close friend of mine, for me just beginning to talk about what's going on, I'm like, woo, I can't even handle myself. And that is a sign for me. I'm like, I gotta call Jana and get back to therapy because shit's not good. So the fourth tip is that if you've answered yes to any of those questions that I posed, please get help as soon as possible. This could be making an appointment with your GP or primary care doctor, whatever, in order to get a proper referral. You also may want to see your doctor to get checked out and make sure it's not coming from a medical condition. But please contact someone, get a referral, rip off that Band-Aid and make that call. I know it's really scary and it can feel really overwhelming and we don't know, what if we don't like the person, or what if we haven't been in therapy before or seen a professional in any capacity? How is it going to be?
Right.
And I have tons of videos on that, and I will link it here, and I'll put some playlists in the description for these, because I think it's really important that we recognize it's always scary to do things for the first time, but I promise you, therapy and seeing a professional is never as scary as we imagine. We're people who spend our whole lives training and educating ourselves to help you and to be empathetic and understanding and listen.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the whole process, I promise to you, is never as scary as we think it's going to be. So please.
All right, guys. So let's get up out of here for the day. But before we do, let's listen to a couple quotes of wisdom. Let's listen to some wise quotes.
Ladies over 180 pounds.
How do you know when it's time to end a relationship or when to really fight for it to see if there's something there?
If I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about solutions. Information is not knowledge.
Yes, sir.
Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. Three great forces rule the world: stupidity, fear, and greed. The only source of knowledge is experience. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Excellence is stupid.
Right.
Believing that it is stupid. It will live its whole life believing the source of knowledge is experience.
Thank you.
Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Excellence is doing a common thing in an uncommon way. Be a loner. That gives you time to wonder, to search for the truth. Have holy curiosity. Make your life worth living. Not everything that counts can be counted. Stupid.
I gotta listen to that last two. Then we gonna get up out of here.
Excellence is doing a common thing in an uncommon way. Be a loner. That gives you time to wonder, to search for the truth. Have holy curiosity. Make your life worth living. Not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales.
Gotcha, sir.
Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving.
Sir.
Never memorize something that you can look up. I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious. Try not to become a man of success. Rather, become a man of value. You never fail until you stop trying. The measure of intelligence is the ability to change. The best way to cheer yourself is to cheer somebody else up. Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. We all know that light travels faster than sound. Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. We all know that light travels faster than sound. That's why certain people appear bright until you hear them speak.
I felt them last couple ones. All right, y'all, we out of here for the day. I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow on another episode of Expansion Pack. We'll be back. Fun Friday. I'm your host, Dan F. Man. This is DGTA TV. Peace.